This is the way. Greetings, Earthlings. Oz here from planetOZ, and I hope you are having a happy Halloween month. And I am going to talk today about unity. So, and unity and where unity is hiding. Because it would seem that there is a lot of talk about unity, and a lot of people seeking unity, and unity seems to be this goal. But where is all the unity? You look around, it doesn't really, in particular these days, doesn't look all that unified. So why is it that the reality of what we're observing does not seem to be matching the rhetoric as far as a goal to unify? And I think that one facet of this that's worth talking about, and I felt warranted looking in the mirror myself to think about how I was looking outward at other things, and might be handy for some of us. But what it really comes down to is this question about righteous hatefulness, and what that really does for an individual and what it does for an entire population of people. And what I mean by that in the context of, what we might be observing of late, maybe worried about, is just this idea that there's hate out there. There's hateful people. There are people who they'll discriminate against another person based on all manner of things, and make a judgment about them, perhaps a hateful judgment, and a judgment to separate and distance themselves from an individual based on something that we would consider to be inherent, and also something we would consider not to be relevant, really, about who the person truly is. For example, discrimination based on age, gender, race, whatever, sexual orientation, all of these things. So there's a bunch of that. There's a bunch of hate and there's a bunch of discrimination, and we all know that, and we all see it. And I think for the most part, people want to get rid of it, eliminate it from, certainly from themselves, but also from the society as a whole. Unless you're one of these initial agitators. Now, some people who are the initial agitators of stuff, the original just discriminatory personality, perhaps even violent, wants chaos in the world, wants separation, wants to fight all the time. Now, that person is, the chaos and the misery that we observe around us sometimes, that's actually the stated goal of that person. They are trying to inject chaos. They are trying to inject misery. They are trying to separate people. And I think the critical question is, how do we react to such people? Because this runs a very large gamut. And if, for example, there was a group of people or someone who was very hateful, and one decided that the way that they wanted to respond to that was hatred in kind. So, hating the hateful. So the person's hateful, but then when you hate them, it's righteous hatred. It's justified hatred. It's fine. It's socially acceptable. Some might say, how dare one not hate in this particular situation? You must hate X. It is the rule. To be accepted within society, you must hate this or you must hate that. And I don't know, color me dubious. I might be a little bit dubious about this idea, because through one lens, it might be the correct approach, but there is at least one lens, one way of viewing it, that would suggest the evolution of this planet and the evolution of its peoples. Whatever the judging mechanism is, whatever's taking the temperature, whatever is allowing us to evolve or holding back from evolution, we might need to ask ourselves, does that meter, does that measure, does it care about the difference between hatred and righteous hatred? Because there is the possibility that it doesn't. There is the possibility that the only thing it measures is hatred. And if so, then by hating righteously, even though we might think that that is doing some good or has some meaning, it actually might just be a net loss. It might just be contributing to the slowing of our evolution. It might just be making the mess and the ugliness last longer. We could be extending whatever this chapter is that we are going through as a humanity. If you believe this chapter is endless and that it will just always be as it is and we're never going to grow and we're never going to get past this, then I don't know. It's futile. That is a sad world, and I feel for you when you look out your window and you see that level of hopelessness. Because from another lens, you could point to all manner of things, like many aspects of society that have improved quite considerably over the recent generations. And so what that would say is that we can evolve out of worse states. We can evolve out of places of hatred and ignorance and separation. But this isn't a film really making any effort to reach out to those who are the initial haters, the people who are purely hateful and want separation. I would argue that the souls of those people are intact. It's what they're doing here, what is happening to those people in their human form is some kind of a manifestation that is ugly. But when we hate, and it's a slippery slope, because as soon as we are allowed to be righteously hateful, then what happens if the net that is cast toward what is deserving of rightful hatred? Like, let's say at one point in time that was the worst of a violent regime that would draw out of us our righteous hatred. So maybe it was like that. Maybe it was a thin sliver of people. But the risk is that with agendas and politics and all other things, all of a sudden the net becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's catching all of these people in this massive net presented to you as you can righteously hate these people. These people are right to hate. We've expanded the net of who's hateable. So we just keep expanding it, keeps getting bigger, and then we just keep adding more and more hate. And ironically, unity is hiding in all of this. Not on the side of the initial haters, but on the side of the reaction to that, we end up with, we end up being counterproductive, because you might say the originals don't have a goal of unity, but those who are reacting do. So they don't like what these hateful people do because it leads to disharmony. It causes us not to have unity. It causes us to have dissension. but then it's responded to hatefully in return, and then it's responded with, well, we need to separate, we need to we need to keep this particular group, this particular sick, twisted, ugly, disgusting group of people, we need to keep them away from us. That is the pathway to unity. You can see how that doesn't work. It's just it's just baked into it. You're not going to get to unity by isolating people and casting them away as hopeless, and you're certainly not going to get there if you keep expanding the net and you keep capturing more and more and more people. It really has it's really become quite incredible from this extraterrestrial's observation of what's going on planet Earth with people in the social media, and it's just like, oh, cancel this, oh, unfriend that, we hate those people, those people are hateful, and they hate. So I don't know, it's a lot of hate, and it's probably ultimately not going to get us all there. So one way people might approach it is just to say, if you're actively in a place where you can do something about something like this, let's say you're in law enforcement and you're going to crack open some hateful group of people plotting violence. Well, okay, you are in a position to take action on that, then good. But if you're not, then you may just be giving your attention and your intention into this and fueling it and giving it power and giving power to those things that are attracting your righteous hatred and not meaning to, when it might be just better to ignore it. Not to ignore bad things happening to people or whatever, but just to just be true about what is possible to proactively affect some positive impact on, and what is simply a contribution of greater and greater hate into a world which most of us would agree already has too much of it, and we would like to see less. We'd like to see it. So don't necessarily have the magic key here, don't have the answer, don't have the bridge that can be built that's going to fix all of these problems. But I think that not only are we capable of contributing to the pool of hate, even when we think we're doing it righteously, not only can we do that, but we can also toxify ourselves. We are bringing upon ourselves this negativity, and that's why I kind of brought up the example of the law enforcement person, and they're breaking up, let's say they're breaking up some violent group. If you were to do that, you would be witnessing a lot of evidence. You'd be witnessing evidence of why they're violent. You'd have to be inside the mind, or at least understand the mind of the people you're dealing with. And as you're doing that, you are going to be taking that in. You're going to be transmuting or integrating it, or it's going to just become part of your energy. And this can burn out a lot of people in law enforcement or legal system, or people who deal with this kind of stuff. It's a lot, and they keep experiencing it, and actually it can, if your attitude is not exactly how you would want it, and your defenses are not, solidly up, you could experience burnout. You could face toxifying symptoms, toxifying manifestations within yourself, despite being a good person, a positive person, despite being someone who doesn't believe in these things, you might end up kind of giving yourself a little bit of the flu rubbing off from this situation onto yourself. So yeah, that's why if you're in some sort of position where you're actively doing and you absorb all of this, but then you can break it and then you can do something active and then whatever, maybe it's worth it. That's a trade-off for each individual to make. But if you're not in that position and you're bringing on hate and you're bringing on hate and you're bringing on hate and you're hating in different directions righteously, it's gonna make you sick. Possibly. It's one school of thought, one concern we're thinking about. But here on planetOZ, we integrate esoteric ideas and view them through a lens. So ultimately, it's up to you to take what resonates and just let go of what doesn't. But if it resonates for you that there might be any kind of hatred of anything or anyone that you're putting out that could be somehow, not saying you roll out the red carpet and you just love these people that you might currently be hating, but we're thinking about what it's doing to yourself and whether or not it's accomplishing anything, whether or not it's worth it. That's just it's just my 2 cents on righteous hatred and hiding righteous hatred behind unity. If the ultimate goal is unity, in the most purest sense, this is self-evident. If the ultimate goal is unity, it cannot be achieved by way of righteous hatred and separating from those deemed to be unworthy. That we have to integrate. We have to confront whatever it is that is us on an individual and a societal basis. At least that's what the sacred esoteric tomes tell us. So I relay it to you here from planetOZ. Just check your hate battery. See how full your hate battery is getting. See if the level of hate you experience every day is the correct amount, or if you're serving yourself and everybody else with what you're putting out there. It's something to think about. So cheers to you all. Godspeed. planetOZ.